the one we have written that was sent to us a couple days ago. So if anybody has any adjustments to those meetings, please state so at this time.
Mr. Warren, can we, I'm sorry, can we back up and just take a roll call of everyone that's here in the building and also on the phone just for an official recording of that?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was going in the line that wasn't on the, sorry, my bad, I should have known that.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead and take roll call. I'll start off. This is Lee Warren.
I think to make it easier, I'm just going to call people's names and you can say present or here or whatever. So, okay, I got Lee Warren. Brad Phillips?
Present.
All right. Diana Rose?
Present.
Matt Hart?
Present.
Barbara Evans?
Present.
Bill Williamson?
Present.
And I know Greg's not here. Mr. Reinhardt, are you on the phone? Okay. Mr. Woods? All right. And Brenda, you're on the phone? On the call?
Present. Yes.
Okay. That's everyone on the call, and then we'll start around the table.
Kristen Warman, Deputy General Counsel.
Michael Malloy, Staff Attorney.
Mark Moore, Standards and Enforcement Services.
Gwen Jackson, Director of Education and Licensing Services.
Tony Slagle, Government Affairs.
Mike Temple Deal, Education Specialist, Education Licensing Services.
Jennifer Wheeler, Education Manager.
And Cole Flannery, Staff Attorney.
That's it up here. All right. Thank you, Mr. Warren. You can go to number 2 now. Sorry about that.
No worries. Number 2, ratification of minutes from July 11th and July 28th. Some were provided via the video on the website. Some were provided by Tony in email a couple days ago. If anybody has any questions or adjustments that need to be made to those minutes, please state so at this time. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Brad Phillips.
Motion to approve.
I think I heard Brad's voice there first for approve, and I think that was what? Doyle, you want to do a second?
A second.
That'll work. All those in favor of minutes approved, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? Very well, motion carries. General comments and visitors from non-agenda items.
Mr. Chairperson, Lee, just to make clear for the record, that was a motion to approve both sets of minutes for July 11th, 2016 and July 28th, 2016.
Yes, please.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Number 3, general comments and visitors from non-agenda items. Do we have any comments from visitors on non-agenda items? Okay. Hearing none, move on to reports from subcommittees. I will start with Standards Practice Subcommittee. We have not met. We finished our review. We'll be getting ready to start a new review probably in the next few months. But currently, we have not met. I believe the non-substantive changes have already gone through, and we've already all that's been cleared. Correct, Tony?
Yes, sir. And the booklet that you guys were okay with putting on the website is up for anyone to download, as well as a little pocket version of the SOPs is up.
Fair enough. Anything from Enforcement Committee?
Enforcement Committee has not met, so nothing to report.
Okay. And Education Subcommittee?
Education Committee met by teleconference and discussed the standards of practice course, and the committee is recommending that the course be written by the committee rather than the staff, and then supported by the staff with direction and outline. We would like to see the legal and ethics course that's being provided by Real Estate Center, so we can kind of see what their format is and what we don't want to duplicate if there's anything in there that might affect our course writing, with an implementation to be in the future. In the interim period, the standards of practice would be utilized by the existing courses provided by the various providers for the 4 hours, and the legal ethics would be, I believe we discussed leaving that as it is for full implementation no later than September 1. And Tony, you may correct me on the application of dates on the legal and ethics on that.
Yeah, Brad, what the committee was recommending was that we go forward with leave the 8-hour course as is right now for both for the standards and practice legal update, have the A&M course go into effect on September 1st, along with the course that the committee writes for the standards of practice course. So they would both be implemented at the same time and be mandated at the same time. So in essence, an 8-hour mandated course in which the 4 hours by the Texas are the real estate center and staff and subject matter experts, and then the 4 hours of the SOP written by the committee as well. So there'd be a sort of even though it'd be 2 parts, it'd be mandated 8 hours of subject matter that has been approved and written by the committee and weighed in on by the committee to go into effect September 1st, 2017.
Okay, so basically we're giving A&M a little bit extra buffer time as well as us, a little extra buffer time to get both of those in line, because I think originally A&M was planning on having their course ready and up and going by January 1, right?
That is correct. Right. Well, yeah. The course that A&M was writing or helping us write was, yes, that was correct, Mr. Warren. But the committee's recommendation, and that's basically what we're meeting on today, is to discuss those rules since they are up for approval in the November meeting. The committee's recommendation was to have both of those aspects of the course go into effect at one time to provide some extra time for providers to get ready, for A&M and staff, and you guys to get the courses in line so that we have 8 hours of approved material to go forward from that point, from September 1st.
Okay. Nope. Sounds good. Anything else from education, Brad?
I believe that's everything we did on subcommittee meeting.
Okay. Number 5, staff reports.
You want to start with AMS?
Go ahead.
This is Tony Slagle. I'll just go ahead and give a brief AMS report. We discussed internally, and I know that Doug had brought it up to your attention before. It's mentioned in one of the minutes about possible legislative changes. Really, there's not anything that needs to go forward because there's some considerable work that needs to be done in-house with the committee and the subcommittee, education subcommittee, in terms of really trying to figure out what we need to do with the education moving forward. There's a lot we can do by rule. Anything we can't do by rule, we'll at that point we can then address legislatively. But right now, there's not any pressing issues in terms of inspector stuff where we really feel we need to open up the statute to make any corrections. And then when we get going with the agenda items on the rules, there are a couple of things we'll address at that point, but there is one rule that we're bringing forward that isn't on the agenda that I'll let Kristen speak to really quickly. It's to make a correction that was statutorily implemented but that was never carried forth rule-wise. And we just need to do that in terms of giving guidance to license holders and the staff on how to process things.
This is Kristen, and basically the rule Tony is speaking of is the renewal rule. So it's 535.216. And when you look at that rule, subsection F and subsection H both say about the same thing, but subsection F was really meant to address late renewals, and subsection H was meant to address what the staff considers as reinstatement. The difference being that a late renewal, an inspector can late renew their license up to 6 months after the expiration date. And a reinstatement would be needed anytime 6 months to 24 months after expiration date. So the amendment is just to change the language or clarify the language in subsection F as in Frank, so that license holders know what they have to do to late renew their license. They have to file the late renewal application, pay the late renewal fee, and then obviously satisfy the continuing education requirements and the proof of financial responsibility requirements. So that's all that amendment does.
And that, in practice, is what's been going on. It's just the rule didn't mention it, and this unfortunately came up prior to the agenda being set and everything. That's why it's not in front of you guys.
After the agenda.
I'm sorry, after the agenda being set. That's why it's not in front of you guys. But we do need to make that clarification in the rules so that we at least are consistent in how we're processing it going forward.
So staff is proposing that rule, or has added it to the commission's agenda, and is recommending that the commission propose it and publish it for public comment. So if this committee has any concerns about that, those can be considered at the next committee meeting. So there's still an opportunity for anybody to weigh in if there are objections or concerns.
Anybody have any objections to that? Right. Hearing that, I think we're in good shape.
Okay. So we'll go to the next committee.
Staff report.
Staff report.
That would be ELS.
They're out of order.
Yeah.
They are.
Just one that first is mine, but then we.
What am I doing here? All right. Okay.
Okay, well, hold on. Here.
Oh, they're out of order.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So this is the E. This is L. I see what you did. Okay. Oh, what I did. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hi, this is Gwen speaking with the ELS division. The report that you've got there in front of you is on page 1 of 13 is the ELS L1A report, and it provides you with fiscal year comparisons for applications received, licenses issued, as well as renewal activity. And what I'd like to do first is share with you what our numbers were for August, for fiscal year ending August, which I apologize are not in this packet for you all, but I thought you'd want to know what we finished up the fiscal year with in terms of applications received and processed. The month of August, fiscal year ending 2016, we processed approximately 881 original applications and 47 reinstatement applications. In terms of the total original applications, that was over a 39% increase over August of 2014.
2015.
I'm sorry, yes, over 2015. Thank you. In terms of renewal activity, over 1,001 renewals were processed, and 76% of those who were sent renewal forms or renewal notices actually did renew their licenses. And again, that's for the month of August, fiscal year ending 2016. Are there any questions about that information? Because then what we'll do is move into the L1A report that is up on the screen for you, which is just for our September activity.
No, but I appreciate you putting the fiscal year 2014 in there on that renewal activity, so that we can actually gives us a more clear idea of what we're looking at on a consistent basis, being the 2-year renewal period. So thank you.
Yes, and I did that for strictly for the committee here. That is not included on the report that goes before the commission, so that's just an FYI for you.
Perfectly fine.
Thank you. And as you can see, for the month of September, we've processed 58 original applications, which is almost a 35% increase over that of 2015. And total renewals, 146 for the month of September, which is 80% of those who were sent renewal notices actually did renew. And if there are no questions on this report, we'll move to the next report, which you should find on page 7 of 13.
Sorry, they're out of order. So it's page 7 of 13 of your materials. I stuck the enforcement report in the education stuff. I apologize.
All right. This report is our L2 report, and it shows that we have a total of 3,603 inspectors as of the end of September, and this is an increase of 401 over what we had in September of last year.
But for clarification, we've only got 3,052 of those that are active. The others are inactive. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
But that's still an increase over the active ones.
Right. Almost 400.
Yeah.
So, Brad, just for clarification, it's still, if you look at the active numbers, it's still close to almost 400, increase of 400 inspectors, just shy of 400 over that year period.
Right. I'm with you.
The next report is the L3 report. That's on the examination activity, and that is for the month of September only. And
that
there
first-time pass rate seems to be dwindling.
Yes, but typically it starts out that way, you know, the beginning of a fiscal year. I'm going to go back a little bit into August to show you where we ended up at the end of August. And that report is not in your materials. But ending August, for real estate inspectors, the first attempt pass rate was 25%. The first time pass rate for professional inspectors was at 51%. Okay. And then you see in September, first attempt pass rate for real estate inspector is 16.7, and it's almost 32% for professional inspectors. But you also need to take into account the volume that we've got there. And as you'll notice, the numbers for 2016 for real estate inspector as well as for 2015 are exactly the same. And I did contact our exam administrator. We went through who those individuals were, and that is accurate. It's just an oddity. Then our next report is the L4 report, which provides us with the inspector-instructor distribution, which is towards the bottom of that, the bottom half of the figures that you've got there. And you'll see that for inspector continuing education electives only, we had an increase of 9 from last year, September. For those who teach our qualifying and continuing education electives, we're at 107. There was 104 last year, September. And then for Texas SOP legal ethics update, we're at 51, which is an increase of 17 over last year. And then for the ride-along course, we're at 55, which is an increase of 21 over the 34 that we had last September. So we're seeing increase in those areas where we thought maybe we wouldn't have as many. We've had no complaints or no inquiries from anyone indicating that they're unable to locate a ride-along course instructor.
Why did we have, on looking at the section above on the real estate side, why do we lose over 50% of those licensed educators for those classes?
Very good question. Very good eye. We're currently working on the education side for real estate. We're programming and trying to get our roster program, phase 2 of our roster program implemented. And in doing so, there was a lot of data in our system that was from our old conversion, if you will, that needed to be cleaned out, as well as some programming, some programming tweaks that needed to occur to make sure that we weren't double dipping. So that's the reason for the differences there.
Because in essence, we were double dipping.
The programming was double counting the data.
Okay. So the 1427 on the CE elective is only on the roof. That is really the more accurate number.
Yes, because the information for the instructors, we perform that manually.
Okay.
All right. You guys ready to move on to the enforcement?
Anybody have any questions for Glenn?
I do.
Okay.
Hey, I wanted to see, do we have these August reports? Were they given to us at a previous meeting?
No, your last meeting was actually held in July, which was prior to. So you all have not had a meeting since then. And matter of fact, I do have copies here with me today that I, would have passed out or given out to you all.
I'll email them after the meeting to you guys.
Okay,
so you have
that's what I was going to ask. Is if
yes,
we could just at least get them.
I'll make sure to email you. And if there's anything else that's discussed here that we don't have copies of, if you need, or that you don't have copies of that you want copies of, I'm happy to email all of that to you at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Any other questions for Gwen? Oh, okay. We'll move on. Enforcement, I believe, is next.
Mike Malloy, staff attorney. This is what you guys are looking at. Is on the first page, it's the disciplinary action that's been done since last time I gave the disciplinary report, which was, I guess, probably July. No, it was in June, I think.
Okay. And that's page 2 of your material.
Yeah. And then the remaining pages after that are basically all of the disciplinary action that we took during fiscal year 2016. There's only been 2 disciplinary actions taken so far this year. They're reflected on the first page on the last 2 items, but I didn't include that as a secondary report because it was already reported on the first page. So the next time we have a meeting, I'll move over to the fiscal year 2017 report.
The on page 2 at the bottom, failed to correctly report the approximate age of the AC unit. Can you explain that one? Because I don't recall that being in our SOPs that we were supposed to. So I'm sure there's some extenuating circumstance. I just didn't know what that was.
The inspector chose to make the decision in regards to that. The unit was 20 years old, I believe, and he estimated it to be 5 years old. And they had serial numbers that match. It was a very nice advisory letter. It was just informing the inspector, if you're going to do this, then you need to at least attempt to be accurate and maybe use serial numbers if possible to match it. So
fair enough. So he had taken it upon himself to go beyond the standards to put in an age, and he was way off.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, it was a really just FYI type of advisory letter, and that was basically the summation of the whole item of the actual advisory letter. So.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions for Mr. Malloy?
No, not me.
All right. Let's see. Whoops. Get over there. We can move on to item number 6, discussion of possible action.
And 72 is slightly different because you'll see on page 11 in subsection I, there are a few amendments that are not related to the inspector courses that will be going forward.
Oh, about them having the examination if it's in class but not required to be, calculated, as opposed to if it's correspondence then it has to be graded?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, let's see. Let me think. All right. So basically what we need here is a motion to withdraw all the amendments with the exception of section I in that. Is that what I'm understanding?
That would work, or if you want to phrase it differently, to say withdraw all of the amendments related to the SOP and legal update course.
Okay.
I'll make such a motion. This is Brad.
Brad makes a motion.
Barbara, I'll second it.
Second by Barbara. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We will move on to item number 7, discussion of possible action regarding amendment to 22 TAC 535-218, continuing education required for renewal.
Okay. On this rule, it starts on page 12 of your materials, and again, you'll see some areas of the rule highlighted in green that relate to the SOP and legal update course changes that had been previously looked at and recommended by the committee, and we are recommending withdrawing those amendments at this time. And then also on page 12 and on 13, under subsection D in the right-hand column, you'll see some green text. And that text is being added to clarify when an inspector may receive continuing education elective credit for courses taken outside of Texas. And then the green language on page 13 is being added to clarify when an inspector may receive continuing education elective credit for courses that are offered by exempt providers. This is already being done pursuant to the other rules, but we wanted to clarify that here in this rule as well. So the amendments in blue and green text on pages 12 and 13 will be on the Commission's agenda for adoption, and the green text are just some changes to some additional language to clarify the amendments moving forward. These are not substantive changes because we're already doing them in practice, and so we just wanted to make sure the committee was aware of them and that you were in agreement to move forward with these amendments.
So I remember discussing the out-of-state stuff before, and we had, plenty of conversations about that. Was there anything, did anybody have any issues with the items about the out-of-state stuff? I think we understand the direction. The idea is we want to go ahead and hold off on the legal and ethics stuff, but I just want to make sure before we really start getting too far into it. Are there any questions anybody has over the out-of-state education items?
Yeah. But what is an exempt provider? I don't understand that.
Basically, under the rules, the Commission exempts certain providers, and for purposes of this rule, that would be like a code enforcement agency like the ICC, or another provider that is certified not necessarily by the Commission, but by another regulatory agency.
Ms. Rose, this is Tony Slagle. When we were looking at the education rules, when we were revamping things, the inspector committee wanted to make sure that you could still get continuing education credit from those code enforcement organizations, when you go take a course or whatever from those, as well as there's I think another exempt providers like a federal entity of federal government, other state agencies, those types of things, and so those were carved out with the intent that inspectors could still get credit from courses being offered by those entities. What this amendment did was to clarify what the process was, because it wasn't exactly spelled out the way it needed to be in the rule. In process, we were still doing it, but just to make sure that everyone understands what the process is and everything, we're clarifying it in the rule as well.
Okay, thank you. That helps me because I was about to spend a lot of money renewing all those things. So thanks a lot. Okay, I got it.
All right. So entertain a motion to approve the changes minus the items that directly relate to the legal and ethics course.
So moved.
Mr. Brad makes a motion. Any second?
Second.
I think that was Diana. If my ears are okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to approve the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to number 8, request future meeting agenda items. Does anybody have any items they would like to put on the future agenda? Wow, that's a first.
Well, actually, staff does have one to raise. We have received an inquiry from one of the ride-along instructors about whether or not the instructor can issue a pass-fail grade for the ride-along course. And the idea of grading for the ride-along courses is not expressly stated in the rules, but the thought was that it was implied and that an instructor would not pass a student that didn't demonstrate or did not demonstrate competence in the inspection process. So staff would like to bring forward some changes to the ride-along rule, to make sure that instructors have that ability for the committee to consider.
That sounds good to me, because didn't even think about it, but I guess it's kind of inevitable that somebody's just going to go through, hang out, and for 8 hours not do anything and expect to get full credit for it. So, yeah.
I agree with that. I think that's a good idea.
Seems fair.
Well, the example that we were given was that the student, after having,
4 days or so,
been on various ride-alongs for 4 days, had the question of, when they were looking at the gas meter, the student was, so what is that?
Oh, geez.
Yep.
So we wanted to make sure that both from a license holder standpoint and a consumer protection standpoint, that instructors had the ability to actually, at least give some type of competence, either thumbs up or thumbs down, on moving forward with that student's application process. So we'll bring some proposed rules to you at the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, that'll have to have a lot of thought into it, because you don't want to go too far where you give the instructor the ability to just keep saying no to keep having more ride-alongs, possibly making more. So there's going to be an interesting balance there. But yeah, I agree that probably needs to be some ability from their side to say no. So, okay. Any other future meeting agenda items? All right. Hearing none. Discussion of future meeting dates.
Well,
any idea on when we want to go?
Well, you absolutely have to have a meeting in February because it's statutorily required. It doesn't mean you can't have one before then, but definitely in February. That brings up another issue in the sense that we've been soliciting inspectors and the public for some applications to fill vacancies or potential vacancies or future vacancies on the committee, and haven't really gotten anybody to submit anything. So I just want to ask the committee if they know anyone, if they know any inspectors who they think might be, good, or if they are part of an association or something, just to reach out. We've reached out to at least one association. We're going to reach out to the other one to ask them to ask their members. But I believe there's at least 2 committee members that may be coming off in February, so we fill those vacancies. It'd be nice to do it prior to that. That's a long-winded way to say that February you have to meet. You can meet before then if you want to, but definitely in February. So,
yeah. Who do we have going off? Is it? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Stephen Greg's going off, are they not?
Yeah, they're scheduled to go off. Greg, Steve Reinhardt and Greg Eakin.
And Mr. Wood
thanks.
is also indicated that he is no longer willing to serve.
And I actually need to look and see if the public members may be up for their 2-year term, and we may need to discuss if they want to continue or not. So I'll have to look into that as well. Completely up to them, but if you guys know anybody who you think would be good, either as an inspector or a public member, please encourage them to apply.
And by apply, we just mean submit a letter of interest.
Right. There's an interview process and everything, but we need to schedule those. Hey, go ahead.
Tony, what's the first meeting in the first of the year for the commission?
With the date, it's usually coincides with the winter meeting, and I'm not sure when that is. If that's the second week in February.
I know the board meeting was moved to the 10th, which is the second Friday in February. So the commission meeting would normally be the 20th, but I believe that's President's Day. So I think it's probably the 13th.
I think it's on the 13th, Brad. And the other thing is, once I just remembered this, once the amendments to 218 get approved, that'll be the first opportunity that inspectors can come to an inspector meeting and get CE credit as well. So at the February meeting.
If we have anything to take to that meeting, we're going to have to meet real early in the month.
That's right. You would need to meet by,
like the first February 3rd.
That's fine with us. We just need to get it on the calendar if you guys want to do that.
Anybody have any? Yeah, Friday, February 3rd. Anybody have conflicts with that?
I won't be at the meeting, but Carrie can sit in, probably.
I want to do it some other time when you can.
I mean, I'm going to be out the 2nd and the 3rd, so the 1st. But I don't want
to take days off.
What day was this again? You said February 13th?
The commission meeting's on the 13th, and typically we like to give it, in case anything comes out of the committee, we need to make sure that we are prepared to get the material to the commission members in time. So we like to meet at the latest 10 days prior to the commission meeting, which would be the 3rd at the latest.
Okay. I'm fine.
And we don't have on Friday. We could meet on the 1st or the 2nd, Wednesday or Thursday if necessary.
We could meet, if I'm going to be here, it would need to be Wednesday, if that's the committee's pleasure. But again, Carrie's here as well, and she could sit in if the committee wants to meet on a different day.
I kind of like the 3rd. I just like either Mondays or Fridays. I don't like doing it in the middle of the week to drive and everything.
I don't either. I agree with that.
February 3rd.
Right.
10 o'clock?
February 3rd.
10 o'clock, is that what I heard?
Let's do 10. That way, if we have subcommittee meetings that want to meet before that, we can do that.
Well, and we're going to just since the whole committee is on the phone, or at least the people who call in, we're going to need to really get moving on the education stuff to get that course written in a timely fashion, so it would be, effective as of September 1st. So at least the education subcommittee, and I'll get with the chair as well about that, is probably going to have to meet prior to that February 3rd meeting once, if not more than once.
Yeah, having the education subcommittee putting a good outline down would probably be really good, because we run the risk of shuffling committee members on the February meeting.
Correct. No, exactly. And I know for a fact that Greg's the chair. He's going to be gone, so there'll be at least one new member at that point. So, okay.
Yep.
So February 3rd at 10 a.m.
Good.
Sounds good. All right, February 3rd, 10 a.m. All right, anybody else have anything else they'd like to bring up? Hearing none, I think we are adjourned at 10:14 a.m.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
All right. Have a good weekend.